afternoon to you, and thank you so much for finding time to joining us this afternoon. It is Monday, the 25th of April, 2022. The show is Diaspora Dispatches. We get to bring you the latest news from across the continent of Africa. My name is Miriam Ogotu, and as usual, we are coming to you from Kenya's capital here in Nairobi. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you're tuned in today. We shall start our conversation this afternoon from the Democratic Republic of Congo. And World Health Organization says it has identified more than 100 people who came into contact with a new case of Ebola virus in the DRC. It says they are being closely monitored for symptoms, and vaccinations will start in the next few days. Over the weekend, the health authorities declared the third Ebola outbreak in the Equator province since 2018. A 31-year-old man who contracted the virus in the city of Mbandaka died. DRC has experienced 14 outbreaks which have claimed thousands of lives. And then we move on to Togo, and the parliament in the country has passed a resolution asking the government to make a formal bid for membership of the Commonwealth, a group of mainly former British colonies. The country is already a member of the Economic Organization of West African States, ECOWAS, and the International Organization of La Francophone, a group of French-speaking countries that are mostly former French colonies. The resolution passed on Friday asked the government to submit its application for Commonwealth membership at the bloc's next summit in Rwanda in June. The West African nation embarked on the process of joining the Commonwealth in 2014. And Rwanda's President Paul Kagame has held talks with Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni in his first visit to the northern neighbors after tensions in 2019 led to border closures for 3 years. A statement from State House in Entebbe said the two leaders agreed to push for peace and stability in the region by addressing the crisis in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo through the East African Community Bloc. It said the pair held talks on Sunday. Mr. Museveni urged the regional bloc to address the insecurity in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo before the crisis there escalates. Mr. Kagame said it was important that all parties in the conflict are involved to solve the crisis once and for all. Last week, Kenya, Burundi, Uganda, DRC, and Rwanda agreed to deploy a regional force to fight rebel groups in the troubled region. President Kagame was on a private visit to the country to attend a dinner in honor of Mr. Museveni's son and commander of Uganda's Land Forces, Lieutenant General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who celebrated his 48th birthday over the weekend. And then African leaders are congratulating French President Emmanuel Macron on his re-election after convincing victory over rival Marine Le Pen. Mr. Macron is the first sitting French president in 20 years to be re-elected. Senegal's President Macky Sall, the current African Union chairperson, sent his best wishes for Mr. Macron's re-election, among other heads of state from the continent. And the military in Mali says it has restored control at 3 bases in central Mali after they were simultaneously attacked by jihadists. 6 soldiers died and 11 enemy fighters were killed, according to a statement. There has also been an attack in neighboring Burkina Faso. These 4 jihadist attacks show just how vulnerable the military forces are in the Sahel region, as suicide bombers were driving cars packed with explosives into army bases in Mali's Mpoti region. Another jihadist group was killing soldiers and civilians across the border north of Burkina Faso. In both countries, soldiers seized power after accusing the elected governments of failing to deal with the jihadist threat. The man now in charge of Burkina Faso, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Damiba, recently announced the setting of local committees that are to try holding talks with the Islamist militants. And the United Nations has called for investigations into the reported killing of at least 168 people in clashes in the Darfur region in Sudan. A UN Special Representative Volker Perthes condemned the violence of Krink region of West Darfur, during which homes have been set on fire, hospitals attacked and goods looted. Almost 100 more people were wounded in the violence. The General Coordinator for Refugees and Disabled in Darfur, an independent aid group, has confirmed. Several non-governmental organizations said an individual dispute sparked the fighting between Arab nomads and members of the Masalit minority in Krink. There have been some reports that the Sudanese authorities deployed a notorious militia called the Rapid Support Forces, which was formerly known as Janjaweed. The Janjaweed carried out widespread killings in the Darfur region 2 decades ago. The death toll from an explosion at an illegal refinery in southern Nigeria has risen to over 100 after more people died from their injuries. The blast occurred late Friday at the illegal site between the southern oil states of Rivers and Imo, police has confirmed. Ifeanyi, who heads NEMA operations in the area, said dozens of people were severely burned and as others are still in hospital. Earlier on Sunday, he confirmed that at least 80 had been killed, but that more could die of their injuries. Burnt-out vehicles and jerrycans used to scoop stolen crude and petroleum products littered the scene of the carnage, and police confirmed the explosion happened late Friday at the site of an illegal refinery, but did not provide figures on how many people died. Idris Musa, head of the state-run National Oil Spills Detection and Response Agency, said an investigation was underway. He added that the explosion claimed several lives, especially those engaged in illegal oil refining and bunkering. And then we head over to Uganda and DRC news again. And Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo plan to increase troops in the joint military operation in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo against Islamic States-affiliated group Allied Democratic Forces ADF to cover a bigger area. In the first quarter of this year, organizations in DRC that monitor and publicize atrocities by militia groups have verified at least 230 killings by ADF alone in the 2 Kivu provinces in 43 incidents of violence, even as the 2 countries' armies boast of killing, capturing and dislodging ADF fighters from their camps. Independent analysts argue that while the UPDF and FARDC have destroyed about half a dozen of ADF camps, including its main base, Kambia, Ua, and captured a few of the group's high-profile leaders, they have not stopped its killing machine, and the operation cannot be called a success at this point. And then you head over to Somalia, where newly sworn-in legislators are finally settling in Somalia's parliament, a certain move towards the much-awaited presidential elections later in the year, after a long and protracted process that at some point seemed to divide rather than unite the country. But on Tuesday, the new group of legislators were quickly reminded of the dangers lurking at every step of building back a democracy after Al-Shabaab militants fired mortars near the venue of their seating in Halane, the fortified airport area in Mogadishu. Some 297 members of parliament of the bicameral federal parliament were meeting to elect committee leaders when the Al-Shabaab attack disrupted them. None of the legislators were injured, but the attack could cause fear and discourage turnout for crucial government events. The UN mission in Somalia and international partners condemned the attack, warning that it could derail the momentum of the country's already delayed elections. And we head over to Niger, where members of the Niger's parliament on Friday voted in favor of allowing the deployment of foreign forces fighting jihadists in the impoverished Sahel country. After several hours of debate, members of parliament voted 131 vis-a-vis 31 for the proposal. Some activists have been campaigning against the presence of foreign troops, branding them as occupiers who would threaten national sovereignty. The outcome of the vote was in little doubt. However, with the parliament in Niamey dominated by allies of President Mohamed Bazoum in its battle against Al-Qaeda and Islamic State-linked jihadists, Niger has the support of several Western countries, including the United States, France, which have military bases in the capital, and the Agadez region in the north. And then we head over to Guinea and the latest on the ill-disposed president and Guinea's This post, President Alpha Conde has been released from house arrest and can receive visitors, including family members. The ruling military government has announced. A statement by the military released late Friday said the coup leader and the interim President Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya informs in national and international opinion that the former president of the republic is finally free. The former president will continue to live at his wife's family home in a suburb of the capital, Conakry, until renovations on his own home are completed. The statement added the 84-year-old was removed by army officials last year and replaced by Doumbouya. He was allowed to go to the United Arab Emirates for medical treatment in January, returning to Guinea on April 10th. Conde's party, Rally of the Guinean People RPG, has said he was not truly free because before or after his trip and demanded his total unconditional freedom. And then the trial of a Gambian man accused of being part of a death squad that assassinated opponents of former President Yahya Jammeh, including a journalist of the AFP news agency, has begun in Germany. The suspect, identified by media as Bai Loe, is accused of crimes against humanity, murder and attempted murder, including the 2004 killing of long-standing AFP correspondent Deida Haidara, who was also co-founder of the Gambian independent daily The Point. Loe, arrested in Hanover in March 2021, will appear in court on Monday in the nearby town of Sile. The child is the first to prosecute human rights violations committed in the Gambian during the Jammeh era on the basis of universal jurisdiction. According to Human Rights Watch, universal jurisdiction allows a foreign country to prosecute crimes against humanity, war crimes and genocide regardless of where they were committed. Outside the courtroom today, activists held placards demanding that Jammeh and his accomplices be brought to justice. And that marks the end of our news bulletin. Being a Monday, I had so much news to bring to your attention, things that have happened over the weekend and since the last time we were here on Friday. So I had to bring you up to date with what was happening there. And as we can see, a lot of this is really not good news, unfortunately. Unfortunately, others have to do with a lot of it have to do with the widespread insecurity in the region, and of course the unfortunate incident, the explosion at the illegal refinery in southern Nigeria that has claimed more than 100 people. That is quite unfortunate, and our condolences goes to these people. So maybe that is something that the government of Nigeria will look into. But what really caught my eye was that lavish birthday party of Museveni's son, who was turning 48 years old. On Saturday, I think, that President Paul Kagame of Rwanda was invited to, and he went there to support. Remember, it is President Museveni's son who seemed, after the meeting with Paul Kagame, President of Rwanda, a couple of months ago, that seems to have brought Uganda and Rwanda's relationship to where it is today. Uganda and Rwanda has not been in very good terms. They each have been accusing each other of hosting some rebels or spying or things like that to undermine each other's democracy and government, and they've not been in very good terms. So the last 3 years, the borders between these two countries have been closed, and that has affected the movement of goods and services and people as well within the East African community. So President Uhuru Kenyatta, I think, also tried to mediate and bring these two countries together, and maybe what we see today is a culmination of such efforts. Of course, there was also another meeting that happened in Angola that was hosted by João Lourenço, the president of Angola. And I think now, after President Museveni's son met with Kagame, seems as though things began to warm up a little bit. But that, birthday party that happened in Kampala over the weekend, it saw even major roads being closed, the traffic, being diverted to other areas because the son of President Museveni was having a birthday party. The ridiculous things that happen in this continent sometimes. if your son is having a birthday party, and I do understand he is the commander of Uganda's land forces, his name, of course, is Lieutenant Muhonzi. If you're having a birthday party, it is a personal thing. I don't know how you're going to turn this into a national event. It is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous that you even have to close traffic, affect business, cost some people and cost all that, form of, people are very inconvenienced over there over the weekend. So I think this is ridiculous. If a president or the son or anybody else in the country, regardless of their status, maybe the president, it's different. If he's turning a big birthday, maybe 80 or whatever, maybe that is slightly, but your son, you have to close traffic and affect business because your son is having a birthday. That is ridiculous. The things that we allow to happen in this republic reminds me of what Pierre Nkurunziza did, a few years ago when he was celebrating May Day, the Labor Day. And he gifted, I think his daughter was maybe 12 or 9, I'm not sure, but she was young. And she was gifted an envelope full of money because she has been a good girl at home. So the father, in his wisdom, the late President Pierre Nkurunziza of Burundi, felt it was necessary to befit his daughter during a national celebration. Ridiculousness at its highest, height. And if you consider the issues that we should be dealing with, that Uganda should be dealing with, that we should be dealing with in the continent, really, you wonder, where are our priorities? But nevertheless, Paul Kagame was graced this birthday. Maybe that's why the roads are closed, I'm not sure. And so he visited, he was in Uganda. I think that is a good thing. And while we were having the conversation of the Democratic Republic of Congo being admitted into East African